Hey guys, it's Jay here with our very first episode review. I know you're all excited like I am to get into it, so I'm not going to keep you here for too long. But real quick, I want to give a big shout out to all the people who have chosen to hit the sub button throughout these past few months while we waited for Ordeal to return. I greatly appreciate all the engagement the channel has received, and I can't wait to see how we grow as the season goes on. With that out the way, I'd like to ask if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and share with others. Without further ado, onto the vid. So, the episode begins with a narration from presumably Tevin. He mentions the memory of Season 2's events is like the pain of a shoulder out of joint. He mentions how Shay learned the truth about himself, and how it was something no stable growing mind should be able to handle. He mentions Shay's connections to Bjorn, and how it was another father-son relationship, but he also says he can't imagine losing a father twice. He says that Shay hid his anger pretty well in the beginning until something unknown happened. He says he knows the path that Shay was given, and that he hopes he was right for all it has cost him. We then flash to 60 years prior to current events, at Code Outpost number 37. We then get to see the previous 7-headed lion, with a quick note of one of them being that the 4th head, Gabriel Torreson, is the father of Galliard. The reason the heads are gathered at this time is due to a previous god tier known as Mato Hagen, killing his hand known as Timothy Sayota. His reason for doing this is because Timothy had the rare ability to neutralize elemental talents, and he has the ability to temporarily possess the talent of someone he kills, which he plans to use as a trump card against any of the Great Four. His overall goal for doing this is to be the new leader of Kimyokan, as he feels they need a ruthless king. This is when Leo Thomas makes his entrance to aid in the fight, though he is not alone, as his unofficial hand and the rank 11 shows up as well, with that being Masato Hart, the current clan head. He possesses a talent known as the Eye of Time. After declaring he is the one that will fight Mato, he asks the chairman if he has been condemned, and with the response being yes, alongside those who stand with him, Masato then uses his talent with a technique from it called Kokugenma, or Appointed Time Interval, which seemingly sets up a distorted time field and allows Masato to slash at Mato and his men seemingly without moving his blade. But Mato also comments that he couldn't even perceive the talent's presence. The code heads then give us some insight. Gabriel says this talent is forbidden like Veil's, and that only a Heart clan can wield it. Himmel says they are the only clan permitted to operate independently from Code's law, due to the overwhelmingly uneven distribution of power amongst families. He also says many families are given power, but the Heart clan was given an abundance of it, and because of this, several of its members possess diplomatic immunity. Russell then says to Masato that he hopes his bloodline never fails, and that this power lives on to aid their cause. It is then revealed to us that this is what Future Shape possesses in his right eye. We then transition to present day, which is set in 2020, and 8 months after the 7th Lord Bjorn Grimson's death. We see firstly Tevin, who is now an S-rank Kimyo with a rank of 127. We see he is tracking someone and comments that they chose this spot in hopes that he would be unprepared, also saying that they think like an assassin. The wall next to him then bursts open, sending him flying, with Yukiko being the cause for this. She then uses Yuki no Kata, which sends massive pillars of ice towards him, leading him straight into the ground, though Tevin shrugs them off with his hide and shields presumably made from the material that forms on his hide's nails, knuckles, and elbows. Yukiko lands and adapts a stance that Tevin notes is from Sabito Heart, called the Spear and Shield stance, a stance where the user is fully prepared to defend or launch an attack at a moment's notice. She then calls out a technique called Yuki no Kata Black Ice. This turns her sword black, and she throws out a large slash of ice. Tevin notes that he has studied everything about Hisame, and that Sabito wielded a black katana rumored to be colder than ice itself. He guesses that this is something Hisame developed himself, and that an attack like this was not mentioned in his readings. He then uses a thunderclap to break the ice attack, and swiftly grabs his hammer to go in for a strike, but he stops himself just before it hits her. It begins to scold Yukiko for her lack of preparation in the 2 days she was given. He then tells her what she should have done instead, that being to stay at a distance while she is light on her feet. He also says that she is strategizing as though she has many years of experience, and that she must allow her body to catch up to her mind, though at the end of it, it is revealed she still had an attack prepared in the form of an assassin's dart. Lewis, who was clapping, comes over and says she is too clever for them, and says that she wants them to underestimate her. He then says they need to head back as they have visitors. The visitors end up being Aldrich Ross, Hanjiro Hebi, and Nico Hart. Aldrich says that Yukiko must be 14 now, and that she is as talented as Sabito, but also thanks the boys for her progress, though Anton chimes in to thank the chairman as well, as we see he is also an S-rank Kimyo with the rank of 118. and that he is the hero of the Greenland War. The chairman reveals that Code is planning an assault, and though they had met with every head of state, with the gods here weighing in their thoughts, it is time for them to brief all S-rank Kimios. He says a virtual meeting is being held at Code headquarters and that they are expected to be there in person. Though for Anton, they have a special request. And for Yukiko, he has brought the blades of her father and says that they were damaged, but they were able to repair what they could. Yukiko, seeing these, does seem understandably very down about the fact that her clan no longer exists. She then asks if Shay will be at the meeting. Aldrich responds with yes, and that he will be on the panel as the bearer of the Ilios talent, as well as the last power to defeat Thanatos Adamos single-handedly. He also says his training was sanctioned by Code, and that he is in a secluded location. This takes us to one day earlier at a location known as Malkos. This is Code's secure location number 27, which is a hidden island. Aldrich says that this island can hide their greatest asset until he is ready to defend them, and while the Ilios vessel grows in power, he cannot have their enemies witness it. He also says Shay was ordered to train in secret to prepare himself, and that only he and Nico knew his location. He says it's been more than a month since he visited, and that Thanatos seems to have sent scouts to find him, as there was a great battle here. Hanjiro asks if they should be alarmed, but Aldrich affirms that this location cannot be detected, and that one must stumble upon it. And if the scouts don't return, Thanatos will remain oblivious to its location. A couple more things to note is that Shay has organized all the rations he's been sent, being separated by dates and calories. Shay also built himself a fully functioning and self-sustaining surveillance room. We also see he reads the Bible and takes notes on it as another means of keeping himself busy. Soon after this, the three of them feel a pressure and find themselves incapable of moving, with this being Shay revealing himself to them. And Aldrich also tells us that Shay was hiding his chi from them with a technique known as chi shrouding. This next section will be things I wanted to highlight that I didn't mention in the overall review of the chapter, or potentially specific hype moments I want to discuss further. First, we see the Kimios who stand by Mato Hagen look similar to Titans. Maybe this is the first iteration of Titans before we actually see them, like a Titan prototype of sorts. This could also be a design coincidence. I also want to mention that Leo's design here is eerily similar to that of War State, which can imply he had a variation of it, but not the actual thing, or that he did have it all along. That would clash with what Mahalalo himself says when he told Shay that he will grant him something no mortal has ever seen. Looking at Sabito's father, it is very interesting to know that he was a Kimio with such a high rank and a powerful talent, as I feel like it was presumed among the community that he was human. It's also very interesting to know that the Heart Clan themselves have another powerful talent, but unlike Hisame, is forbidden. This may be due to its potential to manipulate time on a grander scale than what we actually saw. Next, I want to mention that it is now heavily implied Shay will get his grandfather's talent, but we still don't know how he comes to possess it, since it wouldn't be transferable to him, which means it is more than likely a form of talent object, which doesn't take away from the point I was trying to make with my Shay video, but we won't actually know how he comes to possess it, as well as how he uses it until it's shown and explained to us. Next, I saw someone in the Discord compare the black lightning to that of black flashes from Jujutsu Kaisen, but I also think the ice coating itself is akin to armament haki in One Piece, and the permafrost effect Sabito's sword has may be a reference to making a black blade from One Piece as well, though this does beg the question of, was Sabito's sword permanently stained black, or was it forged with black ice somehow? I also want to mention that Yukiko tells Lewis and Tevin that the black ice technique is something that can counter Hisame's own ice, and that its attributes are similar to that of burning fire. She says Hisame said she can show it to them, but it's a promise to keep it between them. Also, shout out to all the people who said Hisame would teach Yukiko. I honestly wasn't expecting her to interact with him just yet, similar to Shay's situation, but y'all guessed that one correctly. I'm also wondering why we didn't see Lewis's ranking when he showed up, the way we saw Tevin's and Anton's. He has to be a ranked member since he was invited to the meeting, so maybe we'll see it sooner rather than later. It's also interesting that they were ranked higher than Andrea's presumably old ranking, as it should be a sign of how much stronger she should be now, but also how much stronger they are as a whole compared to their season 1 selves. I also want to quickly highlight Shay's genius and his ability to make a surveillance system with only the parts he was given, and mastering a god tier level technique in the form of chi shrouding, which is what allows him to hide his presence and is a technique that Leo himself took years to master. Though I will make an entire video dedicated to Shay's prodigal nature, potentially when the season is over. And lastly, I want to mention the reason Aldrich refers to Thanatos as such is because they don't know who the Thanatos vessel actually is right now. However, they do know the talent has returned, so it only makes sense to refer to whoever has the talent as the talent name itself. And that is the video, guys. Let me know how you feel about the format of the video, with me summarizing each section and focusing on some of the more important parts, and then at the end going over some parts that I skipped over that has a more discussion feel to it. Also, let me know if you feel like I cut out too much in the actual summarization of the chapter. I know everyone is excited as I am to cover this weekly, as it's going to be cool to see how the series unfolds from here. Don't forget to read the actual episode for yourself, and be sure to like it as well. And I will see y'all in the next one.